Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me, Umber Rays, and today I'm finally getting around to it. Got a huge backlog of stuff to do, and not to mention the fact that it's just kind of crazy right now. Anyway, today we are going to finally be starting reviews, and the way I'm going to be doing reviews is I'm going to be doing at least, for the first little bit, considering that I do have a backlog, I'm going to be doing reviews in groups of 3 in terms of characters that I think are, you know, somewhat related to each other in terms of task or, you know, their general kits or whatnot. Because the thing is, in War of the Visions, you have different types of characters. You have tanks, you have healers, you have physical DPS, you have magical DPS. And, you know, you have buffers, you have debuffers. There's a lot of just like in Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, you have your unit types, and to that extent, there's also the other thing of elementals. In terms of elements, light and dark oppose each other, and then, you know, water is beaten by lightning, lightning is beaten by earth, earth is beaten by wind, wind is beaten by ice, ice is beaten by fire, and fire is beaten by water. So while I am doing these reviews, remember that there is an elemental advantage and that there are different damage types. But regardless, today we are going to be taking a look at 3 mages. 2 mages that have been in the game since the very beginning, and the third mage who has only come more recently to the game, which is, I'm going to be reviewing her as well as something to which you can figure out whether you want to go physical or magical in terms of your DPS. But really, there are other characters too. I have just chosen these 3 characters because the 2 of these are pretty prominent in terms of mages and power, and the third one is one of the free characters from the very beginning of the game, one of my favorite Final Fantasy characters ever, so of course she's going to get part of this review. So let's just talk about these 3. So starting with Y'shtola. Y'shtola is the free bonus pre-registration character. She is a character that during the Final Fantasy XIV event you will be able to earn shards, and really, I mean, pretty fairly easily, so long as you're playing the game regularly, you will be able to get enough of her shards to max her out. And from there, the big question, especially back at when we were playing on the JP side, is whether or not she was worth heavily investing in. After all, she does have a TMR that could be potentially easily gotten. This rod with 78 magic and 80 HP, which I do have because I did master her because, again, one of my favorite characters. Overall, Y'shtola's stats are not incredibly impressive by any standards. They're just not as good as her counterpart at the beginning of the game, Mediena, which shouldn't be a surprise considering that one's a UR and one's a free SSR character, or in terms for you global people, an MR character. You know, medium rare, just like your steak. Anyway, Y'shtola is a fire-based mage, and that is kind of just where she is in terms of her damage. She really doesn't have a lot of good options for damage dealing. She doesn't have a limit burst, and therefore she suffers quite a bit from it. Overall, Y'shtola's performance from the months that I have seen her playing in WOTV on the JP side, I have seen her deal out approximately 3,000 damage during a pro magic raid, but that was about it. And overall, the fact is that her HP is really too low to survive in arena particularly well. So if you're wondering, if you're curious of whether or not, by the way, she doesn't have optimized equipment or anything here, and she doesn't have a magic-based summon or a magic-based card. This is just kind of show her general baseline-ish stats for the most part. While I do love Y'shtola a lot, her kit overall is just really ends up being slow and not enough HP to be competitive. But and her TMR is also not overly impressive. It's not terrible. There are really not a ton of options for staff, but when it comes to equipping units in WOTV, you only have one spot on equipment for TMR, and you can only equip one weapon. There is no dual wielding as of this recording. But still, when it comes right down to it, Y'shtola is not a character that I would say that you should heavily invest in. She may have global buff, she may be stronger in her global version, but she would really have to be considerably stronger. if you were going the magic DPS route, there is another option. But now let's talk about Saria. Now, Saria is a character that I have not developed at all, just because she isn't like overly interesting to me, and I've kind of gone the route of physical DPS for better or worse. It is what I have chosen to do in my game, also because of my draws. But anyway. Regardless, yeah, she is a fairly high-performing SSR mage. She is a Thunder Element-based character. She does have a couple other job classes as well. Y'shtola does too, but here you're looking at Healer, but more importantly, Ninja. This is the thing that is probably the thing that hurts Y'shtola the most. Ninja is just a thing, extra class that just makes your characters so much faster and just makes them so much better. She is a strong Thunder-based mage, and therefore I can recommend her as an SSR mage if you're looking for something a little bit cheaper but still good on performance. This girl can definitely do fine. I've even seen her in some higher arena tiers, so there you go. She is, in theory, pretty meta viable. And now, let me just see if I can find one. Actually, you know what? Let's take one around the range of Y'shtola, but with actual magic equipment, but no weapons. So you can see the difference in a UR's stats. And this is the big thing. There's a whole bunch of things that makes Mediena way more higher quality than any other mage in the game right now. First of all, she is UR, so she naturally has higher stats. She has a ninja subclass, meaning that she is actually too fast. It kind of bothers me how fast and good she is for being a mage, and that's just kind of it. She has a really good amount of HP as well. Not insane, but good enough that she can potentially stand some hits, and her magic stat is higher. As you can see, her speed here is just insanely damn fast in the game of 72, 223, and 232. Like, her stats are just really, really good. But Mediena's kit is stronger than that because she has a lot of magic damage dealing options, and more importantly, at the start of battle, she has her limit burst. Mages have at the start, they have enough AP action points in them. Normally, other characters have to build up AP by either attacking or using other abilities to charge AP. But here, Mediena has just that limit burst right from the start, and that limit burst hits incredibly hard. Not only does it hit incredibly hard, it also is very good because it lowers ice resistance as well, and it's an AoE attack. So for a whole bunch of reasons, that alone basically makes Mediena really good. But she also has a variety of ice damaging spells that can follow it up and still do a good amount of damage. She has some other non-elemental magic damage dealing option, including the most important one at her 6-star level, Flare. And that makes her just really insanely good, because she can not only dish out, she can lower ice resistance, she can deal ice damage consistently, and she also has Flare for when ice magic is just not a good option for her. And Flare is incredibly strong, dealing upwards of 5,000 points of damage from a hit. And so, yeah, Mediena is just really, really strong. But here is another thing. So where do I recommend building these characters? Well, if you're just going to go all in on Y'shtola so you can have a free mage, it's going to be a little costly for your fire resources. So I would definitely recommend that you don't build any other fire-based characters for the future time, unless you're spending money, in which case do whatever you want. Saria is a thunder mage, but the thing for global people is you'll have to remember that you're probably going to get the FF tactics right after, which means Orlandu. So if you're wanting Orlandu, who is one of the best damage dealers in the game, you probably aren't going to want to be building Saria. Saria comes after Orlandu anyway, so there you go. And as for Mediena, Mediena is just going to be the character that you need to get to Limit Burst 3, or Limit Break 3. I always want to say Limit Burst 3, but you're going to need to put some real work into Mediena. Getting her to LB3, getting her job classes up is important so you can access Flare. Without being an LB3 and awakened up to 6-star, you won't have Flare. You will have other options, but it just won't be quite as good, even if you want to get that ninja job as fast as possible, as well as the ninja passive, to give her an incredibly fast amount of speed. So with that being said, let's take a look at how the AI handles this, because when it comes to War of the Visions, something that is always important to remember is how AI characters act. Because Arena, as well as Guild Wars, are two modes where you do not get to control your characters. They will auto-choose actions. So here we see Y'shtola, again, not incredibly highly built, but in terms of how much damage she's dealing, she is just not dealing that much damage. She isn't a particularly overly fast character, so this is kind of a little painful. Also, we just have a bunch of mages, so... Oh, wait, hold on. It canceled out... This is another thing I just don't... Hold on. I actually clicked the auto-repeat button, which is something we really didn't want to do. It's fine. It's okay. We game over. I have tons of stamina. It's not a big deal. But hey, first review, going good. I forgot that this game is a little touchy about certain things. Slowly reloading. Here we go. Already there. But yeah, when it comes to mages, Mediena's performance is so much higher than anything else that she can just deal a ton of damage. And her ninja options also do give her other things that she can potentially do too, that is not quite the same. So this time I'm running on a little bit weaker enemies so we can kind of see. Here's the limit bursts. Limit bursts are also, the animations are unskippable, but they are affected by whatever speed you are running at. So you can see, lowers ice damage, deals massively just a higher amount of damage, hits AoE, and leaves the enemy weaker. That is precisely why Mediena is strong. Not only strong for challenge-based content, but she's incredibly strong for, she's incredibly strong for farming. And that was one of the big things in early days. People were trying to farm as much as possible, and Mediena is just so fast at farming, because if the enemy is grouped together in certain stages, she can just AoE them all down, and that's basically the end of of just the conversation. So if you are wanting to go to mages, currently, as on the JP side, there really isn't a ton of other good mage options right now. If you're just looking for a pure mage, there is the new Rain, who is a crossover from Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, and there is also a magic kind of based tank, but neither. And there, I do believe, no. There is some other magic damage dealers, but if you're looking for just mages right now, Mediena is basically the pure option. And overall, from the experience I've had with Y'shtola, I love her to death, but the investment is just too high for an SSR character, and I think physical DPS is just a better option to go with, unless you want to reroll for Mediena. But she is still Mediena is still an incredibly good character even today on the JP side. So that should tell you about long-term investment. Anyway, that's all for this video. I hope you found it useful, and I'll be back with more reviews very shortly. Till then, see ya.